seem to focus on trade, and I wanted to bring in trade at this point during the discussion. There's been a view in India that the only way India-Pakistan can normalize their relationship is through trade. And for that, you need to get into a dialogue, bilateral dialogue. So would you think it is possible for India to go for a dialogue with Pakistan under Imran Khan's government? And Modi might have missed an opportunity or is going to miss an opportunity by saying no to that dialogue. Would you say that trade is the route to normalizing relationship between India and Pakistan while cross-border terror keeps going on?
I think it's time we start understanding the role of governments in the proper perspective. Governments are not the only agents that shape foreign policy. The people-to-people dialogue is super important. And my experience of understanding Pakistan comes from two lenses. One, of working in a very large American company, which has bases in different countries, and running a company which is decentralized and fairly global. My company, Network Capital, has a chapter in Islamabad, in Karachi, in New Delhi, and in Washington. And half the audience is here in Network Capital. Yesterday, I had a call with somebody from Network Capital Kabul, and they were explaining what people there actually crave for, what they actually need. So Indians and Pakistanis today, the young people, through my platform, I see it on a day-to-day basis, are able to share skills, knowledge, job information, insight, and they are less worried about how messed up previous governments were and what they did, and more interested in how they can come to a common solution. Look at them. They're all part of the community that we set up. We are the future. It's the time that we stop listening to solutions which sound laden in the past, that because X, Y, and Z haven't worked in the past, the future won't look like that as well. The future is a function of the choices we take today. India and Pakistan will always have differences on some issues, but nobody said that people who have differences of opinion cannot engage in trade, dialogue, skill sharing, cultural exchanges, so on and so forth, because you need to take baby steps. And what I said in the previous context is really important. You can fight wars, nobody is stopping you to. You can actually take the army route, but who will it really hurt? Let's not forget, what is the size of Indian economy today? How many of you know, just tell me, I don't want to embarrass anyone, but how many of you know what is the size of the Indian economy today? How many of you know? 2 people? Okay, this is interesting. But out of whatever size of our economy, do you know what is the rate of poverty? How many people live under poverty today? So let's not overemphasize what we have accomplished. We have come a great deal. We've accomplished a lot in 70 years. But there's way, way, way much more to accomplish. The previous speaker pointed out that China is a much bigger military power. China is a far bigger economic power as well. It's 6 times bigger. So let's identify the right questions and address them. And let's have a forward-looking policy, which is not just premised on trade, but also on shifting the normal from obsessing over problems of the past into trying to find out conciliatory solutions of the future. And that future would be pivoted on culture, deep technology, and trying to create a new normal of diplomacy.